Hello guys, and welcome back to this new episode. So today we are going to talk about one of the most undescribable, undecidable, undecryptable, unknown, but also known, very well known because it's a nightmare to code. It's a manuscript and it's known as the Voynich manuscript. So let's start. Let's delve into this. So the reason why this manuscript is called the Voynich manuscript is because at a certain point the priests, the monks in the convent near Frascati, that of Villa Mondragone, decided to do some restoration and to sell some manuscripts, and that is how this manuscript that was preserved in their convent got out, and they sold it to Voynich. Now Voynich tried to understand what it was, and then eventually couldn't sell it to anybody, and then that passed down to his secretary, and then eventually that passed down to Krauss. Krauss donated it to the Yale library, and it's nowadays everybody can download it. It's known as MS 408, and it's conserved in the Yale library, but anybody can download it. Just go on Yale library online. Now, this manuscript is not understandable, meaning it could be anything. It could be about botanic, astrology, astronomy, and many other, I would say, topics, right? And the reason is because it is written in a language that nobody has fully understood, and for that matter, not even a little understood. Why? This is a manuscript that can be traced to the 15th century, specifically in 2011. There has been scientific studies on it, and they have determined, there has been scientific studies ongoing since this manuscript got out, right? But the research and the scientists in 2011 have proved that this manuscript can be traced back to 1404, 1438, which means that one of the main theories that was circulating around this manuscript is actually false. It was believed for the longest time ever that this manuscript had been written by Bacon, okay? However, that would eliminate Bacon from the list of possible writers of this manuscript. And the main idea here was that this was a manuscript that belonged to Bacon. However, the king, Rodolph II Asberg, came in possession of this manuscript after paying an amount that is something like 600 gold ducats just to have this manuscript. Now, this manuscript is basically parchment, veal parchment. It is 116 pages, and 14 of them seem to be missing. And it is divided in sections, right? But it has a lot of drawings that seem immature, but again, we don't know, it was still like 15th century, right? But the thing is like that if you scroll super quickly the different pages, right, then you see that kind of like there's a movement of the different images, which seem incredible. There's also a bunch of mysteries that are connected to this. For instance, something that is mysterious is the amount of words that are repeated, and nobody really understands those words, right? What they mean, because they haven't decoded the language, right? But also they are repeated, so same words that are repeated. There are apparently no mistakes, right? No even smudges, right? Which would be typical for a manuscript of that time. There are plants that we know, so for instance, one of them would be sunflower, which, however, wasn't imported in Europe until 1492. So how Is that possible that a sunflower gets depicted in a manuscript that dates back 1438? That's a question. Also, this is a manuscript that nobody really understands what it is about, why it was written, what is it that it says, and it contains mirror writing. This is an important point. We'll see that later. Now, apparently, one of the main theories for, again, the longest time was, again, that this was a manuscript that belonged to Rudolf II, and he was pretty much into esotericism, into occultism, so that's perhaps why he bought it for so much. But that also represented some sort of scam organized by John Dee and Edward Kelly, just to be paid by Rudolf II. There have been many attempts to decode this manuscript. One that we can mention is that carried out by Friedman and Tillman, working both of them, and Friedman specifically for NSA, that thought this was an artificial language. In other words, you divide the world in many different categories, and then you have subcategories, but they all start with the same prefix, things that are related to one thing. I wouldn't say it's natural kind, I would just say like one object, one thing. For instance, you pick fire, you give to fire a name, then flames would be the name of fire plus another letter or consonant or vowel or two vowels, two consonants, etc. Right? So basically you start off with prefixes that could indicate the natural world, elements of the natural worlds, anything that can be derived from that originary sort of element, you add the prefix. However, even like that, they weren't able to decipher it. Then there's something else. In 2004, Gordon Rank talked about the fact that it was incredibly easy to write, according to the Cardanus grill, some secret messages, and he really didn't try to decode the manuscript to interpret it and understand what that meant. He just showed how easy it was to create a pseudo language that had no actual meaning, because when you don't understand the meaning of something, then you could also think that maybe, perhaps, didn't really have a meaning. This was just, you know, a play, or worse, a scam, as we said. And then there's another theory, that was put out by Edith Sherwood. And she basically did nothing else but analyzed the picture. And in particular, there's one page where you see like 15 women in circle. And then there's one close to the center, because the center there's an Aries. And close to the center there is this woman, and every other woman is pregnant except for this one that seems to have a flat belly. And then by orchestrating the things together, you know, and here, you know, the imagination stretches a little bit, but by orchestrating all things together, you have 15 women. In the center you have the Aries, so we're talking about somebody that was born, because this woman has a flat belly, was born on the 15th of April. And then thanks to the position of the woman and the angle, you get the time, there are stars, so the time was at night, and it's like 10:30. Now, one of the theories that is out there is that this is depiction of the birth of Leonardo da Vinci. And that would be proved by the fact that there's a name in mirror writing written, and the name is Leonardo, and the R is put just right above the name, because this was like apparently not written properly the first time, or it might have been the case of how Leonardo da Vinci was actually recorded at the moment of his birth with his name. Now, Leonardo da Vinci was born at around 3 at night, but this discrepancy of time can be easily explained. And also the fact that dispatchments can be traced back to 1438 can be explained because perhaps one could think Leonardo had this already present in his house and he just reused it. But there have been so many theories out there that go back to Turkish, Qatari, old Ukrainian, so many different explanations that means only that nobody has a clue of what that is about. And then in May 2019, this professor, Cheshire from Bristol, thought that he could actually decode the entire book. So he has been very familiar with the book, and he has started decoding it by starting off with an assumption. The assumption in question here is that this is a proto-language, a proto-Romance language, that actually the book was written by a nun, a Dominican nun, that brought it for Mary of Castile, so for the Queen of Spain at a certain point around the 15th century. That theory, however, would totally defy the laws of paleolinguistics, so there have been out there many critics of the work of Cheshire. But my point is, nobody really knows what it is about. So this could represent, according to Cheshire, and it seems to make sense for me, right? This would represent for me, it's personal opinion based on no facts, by the way, because I don't really know the manuscript that well. And I would not be able to interpret and decipher or have a proper understanding, considering this is not my field and I've never dealt with it. But the theory that to me also makes sense is that this book was actually written as a collection of herbs and remedies, natural remedies, for pregnant women and more in general for women, for their health and for their in general well-being, right? And that would explain why you have depictions of leaves, of certain herbs. You have a pretty, like, again, immature in terms of drawings, but nobody needs to be an artist here. Immature drawings of fungi or pregnant women or women in a bath with a green liquid, by the way, and many other depictions that in a certain sense would be plausible to think that this was some sort of book written for the well-being of women that would incorporate elements from what was knowledge, what was very widespread knowledge of the time, meaning natural remedies. And a nun would definitely know these things. And they would know it simply for the reason that nuns were cultivating and making constant remedies for themselves, but also for the people around the convent, let's say. So that would make sense. However, Cheshire apparently decoded only a bit. He said of this book, not the entire book, and to decode it anyway, it'll take years. Now we are in 2022 and there are many critics, but we'll see if he can actually interpret the book thoroughly. But anyway, with that being said, did you know about the existence of this manuscript? Let me know. Comment below. We'll talk some more next time with a new video, but in the meantime, don't forget to comment, of course, let me know your thoughts, but also but also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like the video, and of course comment below. Alright, that's it. Guys, we'll talk some more next time. Bye!